Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Amber Tree Wellness TV. How are you going? What I thought I'd talk to you about today is thyroid function and why the TSH testing that your doctor is doing for you is really not enough to tell you what is happening with your thyroid. So let's start with what is the thyroid. The thyroid is a gland which is actually located within your neck. It's a butterfly-shaped gland. And what the thyroid gland does is it releases hormones which control our metabolism. So we need a healthy thyroid if we're going to be a healthy weight, because it controls the amount of fats that we burn. It's required for the regulation of cholesterol and making sure that our cholesterol levels don't get too high. It's what keeps us warm. It's what cools us down. It's what controls our moods. It controls our hormones. So the thyroid's a bit like the master controller. And if the thyroid isn't working properly, then a lot of our body functions actually start to get a little bit out of whack. And a lot of people feel like there's something wrong with their thyroid. It's not working quite as well as it's supposed to. So they go off to the doctor and they ask the doctor for a test. Now the doctor does a test called a TSH test. Now what the TSH test is, it's a thyroid stimulating hormone, and that is actually measuring the hormone which is released from the pituitary gland. Now the pituitary gland is the gland right in the middle of your brain, and it releases this hormone to the thyroid to say release more hormone. So when it detects within the blood that the thyroid levels are getting a bit low, the hormone levels are getting a bit low, the pituitary gland tells the thyroid gland to release some hormones. So this is actually the message that's being tested. So when you get a TSH test done, it's actually measuring the pituitary gland's function. It's how well the pituitary gland is actually communicating with the thyroid gland and how well it's picking up the fact of whether or not the thyroid hormones are actually in circulation. So the rest of the story, and the bit that doesn't get tested very often, is once the thyroid gland releases hormone, it releases what is known as T4. Now T4 is 4 iodine molecules all put together. So we automatically know that if it's iodine molecules, we need the nutrient iodine in our diet. We need it in our bodies because that's what's making our hormone. So T4 is then released into the bloodstream. It then passes through the blood down to the liver. When it gets to the liver converts it to T3 by basically taking off one of the iodine molecules and leaving it at T3. Now T3 is the active hormone. It's the hormone that goes to the cells and tells the cells what they need to do. Basically tells the cells about burning fat, about increasing body temperature, about changing hormone levels. It's the T3 which is the active hormone. Now that tells us that if you need enough iodine, then you need a liver that's working properly, because if your liver's not working properly, this conversion process won't occur and you won't actually get enough T3. You can have too much T4 circulating, or what can happen is instead of being converted to T3, it can be converted to reverse T3, and reverse T3 is inactive. It doesn't work and it doesn't go to the cells. It actually just gets circulated in the blood and then eventually gets excreted by the body. And there's one other important nutrient that's actually required in all of this process within the liver, and that's the nutrient of selenium. Now selenium is an antioxidant, but it's required to actually help with this process of chopping off that one iodine molecule and converting T4 into T3. Now the majority of people are deficient in selenium. Our soils here within Australia are deficient in selenium, and it's quite hard for people to get enough selenium within their diets. So this then can cause an issue with this conversion of the T4 and T3. So what does this all mean to you? You know, the doctor says your TSH levels are normal. And they can be normal, but your T3 and your T4 can be out of balance. And the reason why the doctors are looking for a TSH level is because they're looking for a thyroid disease. And you may not have a thyroid disease, but you might have a thyroid which isn't basically functioning at its optimal level. And that's what we call subclinical hypothyroidism. And this is very, very prevalent these days in women and in men. We're seeing it in so many different people. So the keys to having a healthy thyroid function are, one, making sure you've got a diet which is high in iodine. And iodine is found in lots of the seaweeds and sea vegetables. So you can get that from your food, or if you need to, you supplement it. You need to have a liver that's working really, really well, because you need this conversion to happen. The thyroid is also very, very susceptible to toxins. So if the liver's not clearing properly and there's a lot of toxins within the body, the thyroid function actually lowers. It's also susceptible to oxidative stress. It's one of the reasons why selenium is such a strong antioxidant. It's required for this process. If you don't have enough selenium, or your oxidative stress is too high, the conversion between T4 and T3 won't occur properly. So you can see that there's a lot more to a thyroid function than there is just getting that TSH levels checked. If you want to get your other levels checked, you can ask your doctor, but Medicare does not cover the payment of those tests. You do have to pay for them yourself. Or you can ask your local naturopath, because they're also able to order those tests for you. But just be aware that you will have to pay for them. So hopefully that information was useful for you, and now you've got a better understanding of how your thyroid does work, and if you think that you might actually have a bit of an issue with your thyroid, visit your healthcare practitioner and see if you can get some further investigations done. I will do another video in a later time on the types of foods which are really good for our thyroid, and those that we should avoid if we do know that our thyroid isn't working properly. Please feel free to share this video with all of your friends. Make comments down below. I'd really love to hear your feedback. Have you noticed that your metabolism isn't working as well? Do you think that maybe you've got a problem with your thyroid? So that's it for today, and I'll be back next week with another great episode of the Amber Tree Wellness TV. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you.